bear with me, but there's a chance that if you're low elo, it could be because you're actually just overthinking things. And I know as wild as that may sound in a game like League of Legends, where if you want to climb, and especially in the higher elos where you have to think about so many things that to be successful, that how could you possibly overthink things? Well, in lower elo, first and foremost, you're lower elo. You're not high elo, right? Or you're not in a high elo game. You actually do have to think. I'm not saying you have to be brainless to be able to get out of like bronze, for example, but you don't have to overthink things either, because you're playing at an elo that might not even understand some of the things you're trying to apply, say, or do. For example, if you're trying to set up a slow push to take advantage of, hey, if I set up a slow push down here in bot wave, someone's going to have to eventually go and answer this wave, and as such we'll have a 5v4, we'll have map pressure, we'll be able to do something, and then your team has no idea what slow push even is, so you can't even get them to group or do anything in that moment where you see someone go on the enemy team to go handle that wave that built up in the bottom wave, like say pressure Baron or something, and as such it's just a waste of time. But you went through all the trouble of, planning all that out and doing things just to honestly kind of be punished for trying to be smart. Now, I'm not saying in low elo you can't be successful applying strategies like slow pushing and freezing a wave and things like that. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that high elo players that have never been in low elo giving you kind of cliche and vague advice is not helpful at all. I'm not saying that at all, period. I am saying though, until you've actually been in bronze, and I didn't know this because I've never placed in bronze myself until this season, it's a whole different ballpark than you can possibly even imagine. It's one thing to even spectate it, it's another thing to even play in it, because the thing about bronze, I wouldn't say it's like stupidity or anything like that. What I'd actually say it is just pure chaos. Anything kind of goes in bronze. You can actually win games playing AD Janna. In a land like that, there's a lot of strategy and stuff you can apply and as such outsmart your opponents and do well in, but there's also a lot of overthinking you just don't have to do to be successful. For example, late game champions. A champion like Jinx right now isn't very successful in pro play, isn't very successful in high elos, at least not top tier, but the reason why she's always good in lower elos, even in a meta where assassins are a thing, is because there's a chance that in low elo they don't know how to snowball a lead to victory. As such, games will stall out, and if you're playing something late game, you'll be able to stall the game out long enough to get your items to be successful. Another reason why you see Master Yi stomping people down there. He can get his items down there. He can be useful down there. He can be successful, like Jinx, in higher elos, of course, especially in the hands of a one-trick or something like that. I'm not saying they can't be. I'm just saying why, usually year-long round, there are certain champions that are more successful in lower elo than higher elo. If they don't take as much thought, for example, to play... Maybe that's not the right term because I feel like that's kind of insulting, but I'll take a Mumu for example, right? He's kind of a CC bot if you think about it, and as such, all you really have to do is be able to get in range to use your ultimate or your bandage charge, which is a skill shot, mind you, but like, hook hitboxes and bandage toss and all that, they kind of cheat a little bit, let's be real. You have to just get in range to be able to use those abilities and be fine. Lower elo sometimes doesn't also respect CC, so you can literally at level 6 as a Mumu walk towards somebody and they'll just spend all the time trying to dodge the bandage toss. You just walk up to their face and ult them, and then use the bandage toss afterwards if they try and escape or flash away if they're not dead yet after you all in them after that point. Champions like that get punished in higher elo because there's more thinking that goes involved, right? Oh, a Mumu's very blue buff dependent, so if we steal his blue buff and just make sure he doesn't get that buff all game long, he won't be able to do anything. That's especially prominent in pro play, while we don't see a Mumu in pro play. But in low elo, you can get away with that. You can get away with starting red on a Mumu, starting Raptors, and then go red, and then go blue, and you'll still probably be just fine, because the enemy, bronze jungler probably isn't really going to invade. So my point about this is all, if you're overthinking things, there's a chance your team won't be able to, make use of those strategies that you're kind of overthinking about. The only one that might be the most successful in lower elo at all times still is freezing though. If you really can learn how to freeze a wave near your tower and just make it dangerous for the enemy, whether it's bot lane, mid lane, top lane, make them have to pretty much be overextended the whole laning phase while you get gold safely, and as such your jungler can have an easier gank as well, because mind you, if you're in bronze, there's a chance your teammates are in bronze, right? So even though people like to, especially when they're losing, insult their teammates for being bronze, yeah, exactly, that's why we're all in a bronze game. But anyway, there's a chance your jungler is bronze, and as such, you making their life easier means they can then make your life easier in return. hey, the enemy top lane is just overextended all the time because I've successfully frozen this wave near my tower. Guess what? My bronze jungler, who might not even be really confident in their ganks, and maybe that's part of why they're bronze, well, they have an easier gank now, and now they can help me get fed that much easier. Just stuff like that I think about now when I've played through these games, and mind you, I am climbing through these games. I'm probably going to get out of bronze in sub 100 games, which is fine by me, but there are some people that like overthink. I think, in my opinion, in my experience, what I've seen from some of my teammates, they just overthink some stuff, and then that overthinking starts to stress them out. And then when that doesn't go successfully, it starts to tilt them, setting up a slow push. And then your teammate's like, oh, hey, here's a wave pushing. Let me just go mess with it right now. That's sometimes I've seen people like tilt people in game, like, no, I tried to explain to you what a slow push is, and you're just like, but there's gold there to be had, which is fine on one hand, because again, in low elo, you kind of just want to get gold onto as many of your champions and carries as possible, because like I said, teams don't really know how to snowball down there, but if you can snowball, it can be quite a nightmare, because sometimes teams don't know how to play against a snowball, which is the flip side of that coin. If you can play stuff that you find like annoying to play against in bronze, do it, because there's a good chance your opponents also find it difficult to play against those things. If you hate Malzahar, play Malzahar in bronze, because there's a good chance your elo also hates Malzahar, and as such, they'll not only be frustrated playing against it, but they might also get tilted playing against it and give you that psychological advantage as well. If you can actually, and I say this risk, like there's a risk here, because I don't think this video is going to blow up or anything, probably, but if people actually take my advice this one time, I'm going to be super tilted myself, out of game. If you can actually play a decent Yasuo, Yasuo is a champion that for North America specifically, tilts a lot of people, in a lot of elos even. Like, he actually got permabanned in several elos, not just low elo. So if you can play stuff like that, Master Yi is another one that comes to mind, Lee Sin, Vayne, Riven, play those as well, because your opponent will probably not have a good time, and as such, again, psychologically, you'll throw them off, and then you'll get an advantage through that. Play, and I know those champions, I just said don't overthink stuff, and I'm talking about mechanically difficult champions, but at the same time, that's why I kind of preface it with, if you can play a good of those champions, but otherwise, stick to the simple stuff. Stick to the stuff you enjoy playing, whether it's meta or not. And understand that whether it's meta or not, if you like it, that doesn't mean you won't ever not lose on it ever. It does mean, though, you'll probably have still the best chance of carrying on it the more you play and the more you enjoy playing it, whether it is meta or not. One of the final things I want to talk about in this video is what I see people call like a noob trap or a noob ban or something like that, especially high elo players like to say that and throw that term around, and let's put it this way, I 100% disagree with that term. Now that everybody has their own ban, don't fall for that rhetoric. Don't fall for that, hearing that and thinking you can't ban something that generally just does not do well for you when it's in the game, alright? Look, if you're playing Malzahar and you just can't stand Zed, whether it's because you just literally can't stand the champion, you don't like physically looking at him, or because you always have bad games against Zed, don't listen to people saying Zed is a noob trap. Just ban him, get him out of your game, and as such, just have a better time because of that, right? I honestly actually hate when people say something's a noob trap or a noob ban, because you don't know that player enough to know what does and does not tilt them. If it tilts them, then by all means go ahead and ban it, because I don't want you in my game like, I would have banned this, but you guys would have made fun of me, but this thing's now kicking my butt, and as such, back to what we mentioned earlier, we've lost both top towers sub 7 minutes. I don't even have a BF sword, let alone working towards the Last Whisper or crit or anything like that to be able to help you stop the bleeding in top lane. While meanwhile, if you would have just banned whatever you needed to ban to do better, I would have been fine with that. Because I see high elo players sometimes complain about team comps, and in high elo I think it's a little bit more viable maybe to complain about that, because if you play something that has no synergy with your team and you start losing specifically because of that, there's an argument to be made there. But the flip side of that coin is, if you're in low elo, play whatever you feel comfortable with and whatever you need to play to carry with. And if that means you're playing Garen in a team that really doesn't have a lot of CC to help you catch up with stuff, but you know how to still play Garen well anyways, do it, as opposed to playing Cho'Gath top, who you've never played before, but he's meta now, so you must be able to play him, right? No, right? If something's OP, if anything, that's the trap for me. don't play OP stuff just because they're OP right off the bat for your first time. Learn how to play those things at least, or something like that. Otherwise, you're going to probably lose more often than not because you don't know how to play the champion you're trying to play, versus instead playing something you were comfortable with. So I guess the the really short version of this video, because this ran way longer than I meant for it to, I'm sorry, is A, don't overthink stuff. Overthinking can cost you a lot more than you think it can because you're just trying to do too much and you'll stress yourself out and you'll tilt. B, play things you're comfortable with and don't be afraid to ban things even though other people say it's a stupid ban if it's something that really does tilt you and make you frustrated to play against. 3, I don't know if I said A or B, so saying 3 might be wrong here, but whatever. Play things that you know might annoy the enemy too if you're good at it, because then you might be able to tilt them and as such win from a psychological advantage through that as well. And then the last thing kind of just is like CS, which is kind of maybe cliche and vague, but CS, get your gold, get gold as much as you can. Do not ever roam and just hem-haw around. Always be looking to get gold if you're not looking to make an action on the map. And as such, get your items, get your experience, and get your strafe through that, because late game is probably more prominent than not in lower elos than it is in higher elos. So that's all for this video. Kind of my midway, not really midway, it's kind of a little bit late for that, but somewhat through the ranked season now, looking at, now that I've finally been able to get back into the ranked grind, looking at things, looking at my own games and experience, looking at the chaos that can happen down there. Those are kind of things that I see sometimes higher elo players saying that I just disagree with. You should be able to do whatever you need to do to be able to win games and not be judged, or not judged, but not be pressured by what is OP and what's the meta if it just doesn't fit for you. You got to do what you need to do and then learn about learning the meta as you get better as a player and get into higher elos. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video if you did. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as share this video. I don't know which video will be next, because life be quite a mess. So until next time, take care. From the Fire Guy FS, thank you for watching.